Thank you for joining today's session, Transitioning from a Developer to a Technical Leader. Please welcome our amazing speaker, Priya Sindkar. Priya is a senior Android developer with over 8 years of experience in mobile app development. And she is in love with Kotlin and is passionate about building Android apps. She believes in neat code and a clean architecture. She is a technical blogger, a public speaker, and holds a passion for the Android community. Thank you, Priya, for being here today. I will now pass the session over to you.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. Today I'll be talking about transitioning from being a developer to leading a technical team. Uh, this talk is mostly based on my experiences, how I transitioned myself from being a developer to being a team lead. And these are mostly personal experiences, personal thoughts, personal strategies, which I would like to share with you guys so that you can take uh, some tips out of it and grow into an awesome tech lead. So before we start, a little bit about myself. I am a mobile app developer, and I've been in the industry for more than 8 years now. Currently, I lead a team of mobile developers where I architect mobile apps. I take care of the junior developers. I handle client accounts. I give technical solutions to the clients. I manage sprints when we go agile. I manage boards. I manage how things run in the app and decide the tech stack and pretty much everything that the tech lead does. Uh, my passions are coding, blogging, technical blogging, and public speaking, mostly around Android topics. So career navigation is a bit new to me, but this is the platform where I thought I should be sharing my journey so that it can motivate other women developers to get into the role of tech leads. Above all this, above all of this, I am a mother of a 4-year-old. It is it is the most difficult job in my opinion. Leading a technical team is just a piece of cake in front of being a mother and handling the 4-year-old. But that's it for what I do and what I am. uh, Before I jump into the technicalities of how you should be able to transition from being a tech lead, I would like to share my journey of how I started to become a tech team lead. It was around 4 years ago. I had completed 5 years of my career, overall technical career, and I was having a yearly review meeting with my manager, and I sat there and he gave me awesome reviews about how I was very particular about coding, how he loved the way that I handled neat architecture, and overall the ratings are very good. So I thought that this would be a perfect opportunity for me to ask him to let me handle the responsibilities of leading a team. So I sat there and I told him, hey, I've almost completed 5 years of my experience in tech, in the tech industry, and I think I can put a lot of values on the table, and I would like you to trust me with leading our mobile team. And he sat there, looked at me for a while, and then he asked me a series of questions like, are you good at coding? I said yes. He said, are you good at achieving the deadlines? I said yes. He said, are you good with all the technologies that are related to the mobile app development? I said yes. And then he asked me, are you good at coordinating with the team and communicating with the team efficiently? And I took a pause of 10 seconds. And I said, oh, I think I am. And then he just smiled at me and he said that come back after 2 years about this. And I went outside and I kept on thinking about what could have possibly gone wrong. I mean, I am good at coding, I am good at giving technical solutions. Then what could possibly be wrong? And then it struck me that the 10 seconds pause that I took before I answered that, okay, I'm good at with communicating with the team, was the thing that was a bottleneck for me to becoming a team lead. So I thought hard about it and I thought that, hey, I need to work on these skills because my manager was very good at handling all of us in the across multiple teams, be it the designers, the web team, the mobile team. So I continuously searched for opportunities where I could prove to myself, more importantly, that I'm going to be a super cool team lead. So there was this time after 2 months or so where me and one of our junior developers were a bit free for 1 month or so before we were to start with a new project. And then I thought this is a perfect opportunity for me to learn to build an app with the developers while leading the app as well. So I went to the junior developer and I told her that, hey, I have got this app idea which I would like to put forth. And since you and me both are free for a while, I thought that maybe it would be a perfect opportunity for us to work with each other. And she agreed because as much as on a junior level she was just as passionate about me, and I knew that she had the same potential that I had. So we started off with the project. I handled a couple of things initially, and I distributed delegated modules and features between us. And soon we were on a starting spree and we developed a few modules, and then we were very happy with that. uh, After a while, I thought that since this is a mobile app that I would be leading, and this would reflect on how good I am at coding and managing the team, I started micromanaging things. I started telling her things and giving her feedback like, hey, you should be using 8 pixels for the margin instead of 7 pixels. Hey, you should be using this particular tool for this particular feature. Hey, your architecture is not right. Hey, your variable names are not right. And soon she started responding a little less with me. Initially, she would ask me a lot of questions because she was a very enthusiastic developer. And later on, when I started interfering in her tasks, she stopped asking me questions, and she just would just follow me blindly. And that led us nowhere. And that also pushed the deadlines even further. So I realized that okay, something is wrong. So I went to my manager and I discussed the entire scenario with him, and then he asked me about specific instances where I would feel that I am interfering too much. And then I told him all these instances, and he told me that you are micromanaging things a lot. If you want to lead a team, you don't have to micromanage your team. Let them be as they are. Let them explore their own style. You don't impose your style on them. And I soon realized my mistakes, and I went back to her and I told her that, hey, I'm sorry, I know I have been micromanaging you and I'm not giving you a free rein. So I'm going to stop it right now, and let's continue this project with a happier tone, and let's build this together without me interfering too much. And in 15 or 20 days, we were able to finish that playground project. And overall it was a very happy experience for us, and we were both happy with the outcome that we got. So this was a basic learning point for me. Then after that, soon after that, I went for my maternity leave. And when I came back from the maternity leave, the first thing that my manager did was, hey, we are starting a new mobile project, and I would like you to lead the project. I want you to take the technical decisions. I want you to manage the resources. I want you to handle completely everything that is possible in this project. You will be, of course, reporting to me. You will be responsible for giving the answers. You will be responsible for all the credit that will go to the team. But I want you to start with the project. And that is when I realized that because I listened to him, because I was able to reciprocate what he thought I was doing wrong, and because I was able to take his advice on being a good team lead, and because I stopped micromanaging things, he entrusted me with this very good opportunity. And that's how I started my journey of leading mobile apps in my company. And I'm still at the same company, I'm still doing the same things, only with a bigger, more responsibilities. So that's my journey of how I started being a leader. Before I jump into all the strategies and what makes you a good leader, I would like to point out the things that you're not supposed to do when you are leading a technical team. If you are good at programming, if you are a very good coder, does not possibly mean that you would also become a good technical leader as well. Because as good a programmer as you can be, there are certain other various other things that you need to take care of before you start leading a team. For example, if I talk about cricket, there was a point of time where Sachin Tendulkar, we all know that he is a great batter and one of the best batsmen that the world has seen ever seen. But when he became captain, the team was not doing that good. That is because he is a good batsman. He is good at being a batsman, but it does not possibly mean that he would also become a great team captain. A captain is someone who is able to serve the team. And even though he was a good batter, he could not do that. That is a very good learning point where you need, if you need to be a captain, you have to excel in a lot of other things than just your core skills. Being a tech lead, or rather being a team lead to a technical team, does not always mean that you are going to be responsible for taking all of the tech decisions. For example, if you are leading a team of mobile developers, does not mean that you also have the rights to make technical decisions about what server you are going to use, or what backend you are going to use, or on which platform your APIs are going to be built, because that expertise lies with some other team leader, someone who is more proficient to that than you. So your goal is to make your team technically sound. By not being able to take technical decisions does not always mean that your technical values are not going to be recognized. Your technical knowledge is going to be helpful to build your team to into a successful sound technical team. So your technical skills are going to be used in this way. If you're mobile, for example, if you are leading a team of mobile developers, then you are going to be responsible for giving all the tech decisions for that particular domain, and that is going to groom your team technically. So that is the main purpose of you being technically sound. Also, being a team lead or a technical lead does not mean that you are able to now dictate what your team members are going to be. For example, some of your teammates would be good at going through the documentation and going through the official blogs, and just use those to build an app, or let's say to code. But some of your Gen Z junior developers would be more comfortable with just using the chat GPT, or some of the old team members would still be more comfortable with using the Stack Overflow to get their solutions. So you cannot possibly handle how people are taking their solutions, how people are reaching to their solutions. You're not going to do that. Or let's say, for example, some of your teammates decide to write a variable name as send button, but you being you're thinking being old, you might want to name that particular variable as button send. So it does not really matter whether your team uses send button or button send as the variable names, but you cannot define that. You like to have button send as a variable name, but that does not mean that your team members should also use that, because technically both of these approaches are good. It's only the way of styling a preferred way of individuals. So you don't control that. You don't control how your members, team members, work on a very, very fine tuned manner. Also, very common mistakes that I have seen tech leads around me do in a lot of companies that I have been through is that they try to micromanage everything. Like I did. I was too much specific about what kind of margins we are going to have in our app. I was always particular about using 8 pixels instead of odd number like 7 or 9. But the other developers thought that 7 is fine because it looks alike the Figma design that we have been given. So you don't have to. You need to realize that when you are interfering with your team's approach, and where you are inculcating values or coding styles. So it's really important for you to understand this thin border and then accordingly manage the team. You don't have to micromanage things, even if the developers are not uh, doing a good job, and they are not doing even 50% of a good job that you might have done yourselves. But sometimes it's better if you don't micromanage them, because when you start micromanaging things, when you start dictating the terms of how even menial tasks, how your developers are doing the most menial tasks, then it becomes a hindrance and it creates a bottleneck, and it will ultimately hinder your deadlines and overall productivity of the team. Also, I have been facing this a lot, and after these many years of experience, I still face it. A common mistakes that leaders do is they do not find time for their own team. They neglect in understanding that this is the time where your team needs you the most. Most of the times I have been working on multiple projects, and in some project, developer pings you about some problems that they are facing, but you are too much engrossed in coding for the other project that you almost forget to reply them, and it's been 2 hours since you have replied to them, and those 2 hours are completely wasted because they are still waiting for your time, they are still waiting for your inputs, and you could not give them at the time, and that is why you lost 2 hours of the precious time that needs to be allocated to your developers. So this is something which I still face a lot of times, and I still need to work on, but this is the most common mistakes, and we need to realize it, address it, and prioritize our tasks before we start the day, to make sure that everyone is on the same page, and whatever your team needs you to provide, you are providing it on time. And that is where planning comes in. It's also difficult for many technical leaders to understand where you should be pushing hard to your team for delivering the project, or when you should go easy on them. Let's say you have a project which you know is going to get plenty of time for QA, and there is one project which you know that is not going to get too much time on the QA and would just be pushed to the main branch as soon as the development stops. So it's better to let some of the bugs go, even if you know that some of the discrepancies that you know, let it go through the code review, through the testing process, when you know that you are going to get time for all these things. But if you're not going to get all this time, then you should pushing hard on your team to get the minimum required quality right from the beginning, because you know that you're not going to able to find time for fixing all these things later on. Then becoming a team lead, again, this is something which is very common to tech leads, is that they try to answer it all. I have been there, I have done that. I have been there, and initially I would not delegate tasks which I felt that this is going to be too difficult for my team, so let me just do it, let's not handle the task to them. What I did was that I pressurized myself into adopting a lot of things, and I also stopped entrusting my junior developers with the tasks that were fairly new to them, and which I knew that they would require a lot of time instead if I did it. So trying to answer it all is not always the solution that good leaders do, because you tend to delegate things, you tend to understand that there are some things which you are not going to able to handle. Let's say I work in a mobile app development team, but my expertise lies in Android native and iOS native, but I know very little about what Flutter development requires. So it would be best if I leave answering questions related to Flutter to a junior developer, and focus more on things that are more native on the native side. That will help both of us. That will help create lessen the bottlenecks that we have, and that will also encourage my team members that, okay, Priya has entrusted me with something which is huge, and I should be taking this as an opportunity and prove it to her that she was not wrong in entrusting me. So trying to answer it all is never going to help you. So you have to, as a team lead, especially if you are experienced, well experienced, you should be able to identify that this is something which you are never going to be able to answer, at least in a given period of time. So it's better if you delegate those things and just move on. Now, I would like to talk about how what a good leader does. Like, what are the qualities of a good leader that differentiates them, that stands them out in front of a whole crowd? A good team lead is someone who amplifies their team's performance. By amplifying the team's performance, ultimately, you are going to look good. You are going to build a team that is successful. You are going to build a team that is coordinated well. It's really important for you to focus on how you can amplify your team's performance instead of how you are going to groom your team members. Of course, grooming your team members is as important, but your primary focus should be how you can amplify your team's performance. So if some similar app is going to come to your team the next time, you know that you have trained your team members enough that they can use that particular experience in the new apps, and then they will require a lot of less time in the new with the new app. You need to train your team. You don't have to spoon feed them. Again, this is a mistake which I did when I was starting off with leading a team, was that I used to give them all the answers. I used to search on the internet or search the documentation part, and I would just feed it to my junior developers, and that didn't really help us, because the next time they would still come to me with the same questions. Ma'am, how can we do that? Ma'am, how can we do that? And that annoyed me, right? It would annoy anyone, because they are not learning anything. You did not give them the opportunity to learn, to find their own answers. So it's really important for you to notice when you are spoon feeding them and when you are actually passing on some technical knowledge to them. Also, it is very important for you, if especially this is required when you have a large team, where you need to identify how effectively you can train your team to communicate with each other. For example, so you have a team of mobile developers and you have a team of backend developers. It's very important for you to build a rapport between these two teams, so that you don't have to go inside and micromanage things. They are communicated well enough, they are coordinated well enough, so that they can exchange the resources that each team needs in their own way, and you don't have to interfere in that. That reduces your headache, as well as it amplifies the performance of the team. It saves your team's time, and it also is, it's a feel good feeling for everyone, because that, hey, we did it without the help of the team lead, or we did this on this own. Hey, I don't need to go to the team lead. I can just quickly ping the web team and I can get this done on my own. Why should I bother everyone? So this is the kind of things that help when you build an effective communication channel between your team. Also, the most important thing that a good leader does is that they are there to serve their team. They are servants to their team. They know when their team is going to need them. They provide the necessary resources to the team, and they help build a rapport while serving the team. By serving the team, I mean that you are allocating them time, you are allocating them resources that they'll be needing. For example, you are about to start a project due tomorrow, and your team do not have Figma designs. And you know that without Figma designs, your team is probably not going to be able to start with the project. So you have those Figma designs ready for them for before tomorrow, so that your team can start on them accordingly. This is what I mean by serving the team. You lead by example. If you are a good leader, your developers will follow you. If you are a good leader, if you are good at communicating with them, if you are good at providing them resources, if you are good at coding, your junior developers are going to learn from them. If your code is messy, if you don't have a clean architecture, then your developers are going to do the same thing, because hey, Priya did that, it's okay if we also do that. This is the kind of things which you don't want. That is why you always strive to lead by example. It is also important that you establish minimum good quality. When you give free rein to your team, it also does not mean that you give them a free rein to do anything and everything, right? You need to establish good minimum quality, and you can do that by regular code reviews. You can have pair programming. You can have a TDD approach, test driven approach, where you know that these are the things that will help my team to establish good minimum quality, and you know that there are certain guidelines which your team needs to do. So you train them right from the beginning to use all these effective techniques and inculcate it in their own coding style, so that they are not going awry, and they are at least maintaining minimum quality that requires a software to run smoothly. Like I said, that it is important to establish some hard rules, but it's also important for you to give them a free rein, like variable declaration example that I talked about. You need to let people work in their own way. You need to let them discover their own style, let them adapt their own style. And most importantly, what a leader does is they remove all the barriers that your team needs. For example, if your team needs certain resources for the project, then it is you who should be responsible for providing those resources to your team. If you know that there are two developers who are constantly having a cold war between them, then it is you who would want to break this barrier, shatter this cold war between them, and find something which will create truce between the two developers. So it's really important for the team lead to step up and remove all these barriers. First of all, identify the barriers and remove all the barriers. Handling communications is again very important aspect of being a team lead. Being technically sound is not enough. You need to have certain soft skills, certain people skills, which needs ultimately a team is going to be a group of human beings, and to do that, all of us have some ego or the other while we are developing, while we are flourishing. And it's really important for you to understand how you communicate well with the team. When you are having one-to-one communications, it's important that you do not surprise your team at the team reviews, like the whole year has passed and you are giving them a very bad review when you are having your yearly review meeting. It doesn't work that way, it surprises them, it demeans them, it tells them that they are not good developers. You should not do that. You should give, if you have a feedback for your team member in particular project, you should go upfront to them and say that, hey, can we have a meeting for, let's say, 5 minutes? I have some inputs for you. And then while you're giving your honest feedback to that person, make sure that along with the feedback, you also give them pointers. For example, you know that the developer that you're talking to is not very good at architecture, so you give them a few pointers, you give them a few resources to work on, you give them some examples. What I do is I give them examples of my own code, and I told them, hey, try to follow this code because this is a very standardized code that I use in all my projects, and maybe this will help you. So give it a shot. Just look at it and see if you can learn something from it. See if you can try to adopt this. You can always change it according to your needs, but this is a minimum standard that I use in my projects, and this may help you. Giving them honest feedback and honest pointers can really help build a good team communication. These developers are going to pass it on to other developers, some developers that are junior to them, and it would help your entire team. And if it is helping your team, then it's ultimately going to help you. When you're having team communications, it's very important for you to know that you should always praise in public but critique in private. If you're criticizing someone with a lot of people staring at them, they would feel demeaned, they would get enraged, their ego would be hurt, and probably they're not going to listen to you because you did this to them, right? You criticized them in front of people, they want to value them. So it's really creates a bad impression and overall bad effect when you critique them in public. And when you praise them in public, again, they feel important. They feel that they have some value, and they have this potential to do great things, and it will just motivate them, and if it motivates them, it's ultimately going to benefit the entire team. When you when you motivate them, you build their confidence. Hey, I see you did a great job with this project with so and so feature, and I would like you to utilize this in the other project as well. Or let's say you want someone to work on a project and you feel that they are a good fit for that, but they don't have enough time to work on that project. So you can encourage them in saying that, hey, you did excellently in project A, and I would like you to work on this project B. I know there are some time constraints, but I think that the values that you'll be bringing to this project are going to be exceptional and going to help the team a lot. So this kind of builds their confidence, and they would be motivated to do things in the project which you know are going to require extra efforts on their part. uh, when you are having a team meeting, let's say when you're having a weekly project meeting, you would want to delegate those tasks clearly to each and every team members. For example, if you're starting a new project and you know that you want one developer to work on the UI part and you want one developer to work on the backend part, so you need to be clear about all the tasks. What I do is I create Jira tickets for each and every team members, and then I just delegate them to everyone. It goes a long way. And most importantly, you need to empathize with your team members. You need to realize that your team members are feeling something, and you need to address them or at least acknowledge them. That will help them to know that, okay, you are going to be by their side and you are going to always help them out from a tight spot. So empathy goes a long way. Some of the effective strategies that I build while I was budding into a team lead was that I always start with building a team rapport. Like I have a team meeting where I build a certain rapport between the team members. I joke around with them, or I share some personal aspects with them, which helps them to merge in a little, uh, express their feelings with each other a little, and that helps building a team rapport, and that ultimately would help them in communicating about the project, about their resources very nicely when they are working in a team, working on a project. When you start off with junior developers, it's important that you groom them. And when you know that you have done enough, you have inculcated enough values to your junior developers, and now they have reached a certain mid level, then it's important for you to let them go and flourish on their own, adopt their own coding style, adopt their own methods of doing things, adopt their own ways of delivering. That will help them flourish, as well as it will also reduce your burden of managing them. I always encourage pair programming, you uh, where you want your team members to learn from each other. You pair a junior developer with a fairly senior developer, and then you merge them together, and you ask them to solve one problem together. That helps because your junior developers are learning from the senior developers, and when those junior developers become mid-level developers, they will do the same with their peers, and so on. Taking consensus based decisions are very important. There was this one point in our team where me and a junior developer were at a conflict at deciding how we should be designing a screen, and that helped us put forth in front of the team how what we why we think particular design is better than the other one. That will also help you, that will also give you an opportunity to let your team know your thoughts about what you are thinking and what in general your thinking is while designing a team. So taking consensus based decisions are very important when you are building a team. It makes your team feel that they are included. It makes your team being valued, and that helps. And even if the consensus does not go in your way, it certainly helps you in understanding that the other people what other people are thinking, and you might learn something from them as well. You are a senior developer, you are a team lead. That does not mean that your point of view is always going to be right. So this gives you an opportunity to learn something from your team as well. the balancing act, it's very important. When you reach a level where you are managing a technical team, it becomes very important for you to understand where you're going to be a developer and where you're going to be a leader. Whenever your team is stuck at something and you know that it is you, only you, who is going to be able to solve this problem, then you should be jumping in and you should be taking over the reins, and you should be coding instead of your junior developers. That way you will finish the work in time, and you will also inculcate your style, your perspectives, and you will also let the other developer learn from you. Whenever you are free, just code. You are leading a team, that does not mean that you should stop at coding, because once you stop at coding, you are not going to, you're just not going to like it. You are just not going to manage things pretty well. So it's very important for you to have those technical knowledge and to be intact with the technical knowledge. You need not stop being a developer at all. A developer is always a student, and you should stay a student so that you can be technically sound always. Being a leader, you are always going to be a leader, whether you are leading a project or you are just working on some module at one particular point. You are always going to be a leader. Your team is always going to need you, and your team is always going to rely on you. So you do not really stop being a leader. You constantly be there for him. For example, there are certain things which you, there are certain phases where you are not doing anything, but you still need to feed some technical knowledge to your team, so that, because you are a leader every day, when your team is in trouble or when there is a communication gap between your team, it is very important for you to become a leader. Take things in your own hands and use your authority to make things right. So it's really important for you to understand this balancing act between a developer and a leader. Very quickly, I'm going to go through the roadmap of how you can achieve this, how you can be a leader to a technical team. First of all, you need to be excellent with your coding, at least technical knowledge. You should have enough technical knowledge which you can bring, which you can utilize while you are leading a team. You should be able to take responsibilities. You should go upfront and say that, hey, I want to take responsibility for this project, or hey, I know I have certain skills which will help us in developing that particular project. You need to bring values to the table. You need to make your managers, your teams realize that you have the potential and you have certain resources or certain skills that are going to help them. You need to bring those values on the table. Without that, you are not going to be recognized. And lastly, you need to express interest. You need to go upfront, like I did. I went to my manager and I told him that I need team leadership. I need to do team leadership, and that is why when I started putting values on the table, when I started taking responsibilities, my manager gave me that opportunity, and now here I am speaking to you all about my journey, and that is a basic roadmap that I want you to inculcate in yourselves to be a good leader. And I think that's it from my end. Thank you so much for coming to my talk. I hope you learned a lot of things from here. This is my link to almost every social media platforms, and I wish to connect with all of you and answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Priya, for presenting on transitioning from a developer to a technical leader. This was an incredible talk, and we learned so much, and you share so many amazing, valuable insights into how to be a great technical leader. So we just have time for one question. And Priya also shared her email as well. So if, because we don't have that much time for questions, you can also email Priya too. So there's a question here from Joanne. Um, if my manager is micromanaging me, how can I communicate to him or her in a way that is empathic and easy for them to accept?
Okay, this is an excellent question. One of my junior developers actually came to me with these questions, and he said that, "Hey, I know you told me to do a thing in a certain manner, but this is the approach that I was thinking of using in our project, and I know it's a little bit different from what you suggested, but give me a chance to use this approach, and I'm sure it will deliver in time, and I'm sure it will work for us. You can go in that way. You empathize with them as well, that that you tell them that okay, this is something which you suggested and it would work well, but I think my approach will also work well. And then you go through all the steps of your approach, and then it will better communicate to them, and maybe they'll be appeal to use that. So you can do that.
Amazing, thank you. And we have one more question here from Suji. How can I practice or show my people skills on work?
Okay. When you know that you have a lot of skills, you can go to your managers and you can say that, hey, I know we are working on this project, and I'm not sure if there is any place for me, but I would like to work on this project, and it would be great. I have these skills and I can work on that project, and it will help you. You need to take responsibilities, as I said. So you need to go to your managers and tell them, or you can create a portfolio of your playground projects, and then you can showcase them in your review meetings also. And then you can tell them that, hey, these are the projects that I've been working on in my free time, and I think I would be able to use those in our projects. And if you could just let me work on so and so project, or if you can let me work in the our next project, I think these skills are going to be a lot more helpful to our team. Or you can use that. You have to go upfront and tell your manager, showcase your skills to your manager.
Thank you, Priya. That's really good advice there. Well, thank you everyone for sharing your amazing questions. And I just want to give a huge thank you to Priya for your time today. Your talk was absolutely amazing.